Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, make sure you subscribe because we are back with another homecoming recap and review, and honestly guys, the drama in Bergville just keeps getting crazier. Today we are talking about the latest episode of Homecoming, and this episode continues the tension around Zethu, the dangerous organ harvesting investigation, and all the secrets that are slowly coming out. And let me tell you right from the beginning, this is not one of those episodes where everyone sits down, talks nicely and solves their problems. No. There is suspicion, there is fear, there are people hiding information, and Zethu is once again finding herself dangerously close to the truth. So grab your tea, sit back, and let's get straight into what happened. The episode starts with Zethu under pressure. The episode opens with Zethu still carrying the weight of everything that has happened recently. She has already been warned that she is going too far. People around her want her to stop asking questions. They want her to leave the investigation alone and allow the authorities to deal with it. But the problem with Zethu is simple: once she believes something is wrong, she cannot just pretend that she didn't see it. And honestly, I understand her. Because when you start noticing that different pieces of a story don't make sense, walking away becomes almost impossible. Zethu knows that something much bigger is happening. The organ harvesting situation isn't just some random crime. There are connections that haven't been explained yet, and the more Zethu investigates, the more dangerous her position becomes. And this is where I was already thinking, girl, please be careful. Because in these dramas, whenever everybody tells one person to stop investigating something, that's usually exactly when they should start worrying. Zethu refuses to back down. As the episode continues, Zethu tries to put together everything she already knows. She looks at the information from different angles and starts connecting people, events and suspicious behavior. The biggest problem is that she doesn't know who she can trust. And that is probably one of the most dangerous situations you can find yourself in. Because imagine discovering something terrible while knowing that the person standing next to you could possibly be connected to it. That is the kind of situation Zethu is dealing with. She is not only fighting criminals or trying to uncover a secret. She is fighting uncertainty. And honestly, this storyline has made Zethu one of the most interesting characters in the show right now. She isn't simply waiting for somebody else to save her. She is actively searching for answers. But the question is, how much will those answers cost her? The people around Zethu start getting nervous. Meanwhile, the atmosphere around Zethu becomes increasingly uncomfortable. People can sense that she is getting closer to something. And whenever somebody starts asking too many questions, the people who have something to hide usually become nervous. That is exactly what makes this storyline so interesting. We start seeing different reactions from the people around her. Some want her to stop. Some try to convince her that she is imagining things. Others seem more concerned about protecting themselves than actually finding the truth. And that made me suspicious. Because if there is nothing to hide, why are people so desperate to make Zethu stop? That is the question. Garage's search becomes important. Another major part of the storyline is Garage. Garage is still determined to find his sister Zethu. And this is where the episode becomes even more emotional. Because Garage isn't approaching the situation like a detective looking for clues. He's approaching it like a family member who desperately wants answers. He wants to know where Zethu is and, more importantly, why she has ended up in such a dangerous situation. The search creates another layer of tension because Zethu is already dealing with problems on her side. Garage doesn't necessarily know the full extent of what she has gotten herself into. And that could become a serious problem. Because when somebody goes looking for a person who is involved in a dangerous situation, they can easily walk straight into the same danger. And that's exactly what I am worried about. Garage may think he is going to find Zethu. But what if the people he encounters along the way are actually connected to everything Zethu has been investigating? Now that would be a problem. Zethu gets closer to the truth. As the episode progresses, Zethu's investigation becomes more serious. The hints surrounding the organ harvesting operation continue to point towards something much bigger. And this is where the writers really know how to create suspense. Instead of giving us one huge answer immediately, they keep giving us small pieces. One clue here. One suspicious conversation there. One character acting strangely. And suddenly you're sitting there thinking, okay, somebody knows more than they are saying. That's the feeling this episode creates. And I have to say, I love when a drama does this properly. Because it makes you start investigating alongside the characters. You're not just watching Zethu. You're trying to figure it out with her. The emotional side of Zethu's story. But beneath the investigation, Zethu is still dealing with a lot emotionally. She has already gone through loss, betrayal and difficult decisions. So this isn't just about solving a mystery for her. It's personal. She wants answers because she knows that people's lives are being affected. And she also understands that if she stays silent, somebody else could become a victim. That is why she refuses to completely walk away. But there is a difference between being brave and putting yourself in unnecessary danger. And sometimes I feel like Zethu doesn't understand that difference. Girl, you can be brave and cautious. You don't have to walk straight into danger just because you want the truth. Another warning for Zethu. At one point, the pressure around Zethu becomes even more obvious. She is made aware, directly or indirectly, that she needs to be careful. And instead of making her stop, the warning has the opposite effect. It makes her even more determined. That is classic Zethu. And honestly, I can't even blame her. Because if someone tells me, don't look there, my first question is going to be, why? Exactly. Why shouldn't I look there? What are you hiding? And that is exactly the kind of thinking that keeps pushing Zethu forward. Showbane's situation adds more tension. Then we have Showbane. His storyline continues to create another source of tension within the episode. Showbane has already been through a lot, and his recent role and decisions have started producing consequences. The problem with Showbane is that sometimes it feels like he is trying to prove himself while making things even more complicated. His decisions have affected other people, and now he has to deal with the consequences. And this is something I really want to see explored further. Because Showbane isn't simply dealing with one problem. He is dealing with the consequences of several decisions. And when one bad decision leads to another, eventually something has to break. Vusi's situation. We also cannot ignore Vusi. His storyline has been getting darker and more worrying. The character has already been dealing with serious personal problems, and his behavior has become increasingly unpredictable. That creates tension because you never really know what Vusi is going to do next. And that is what makes him dangerous. When someone is already struggling and starts making reckless decisions, everybody around them becomes vulnerable. The people who care about Vusi want him to wake up and realize what his actions are doing. But sometimes a person has to experience the consequences themselves before they finally understand. And I think that is where Vusi's storyline is heading. The episode starts connecting the different storylines. One thing I really enjoyed about this episode is how the different storylines are slowly starting to feel connected. Zethu is investigating something dangerous. Garage is looking for Zethu. Vusi is dealing with his own problems. Showbane is facing consequences. And around all of them, there are people with secrets. That's a dangerous combination. Because eventually, these storylines have to collide. And when they do, I don't think everybody is going to walk away safely. Zethu's biggest problem. The biggest problem for Zethu is not necessarily finding the truth. It's surviving long enough to expose it. Think about that. Finding evidence is one thing. Knowing who to trust is another. And actually getting that information to the right people without putting yourself in danger. That's something completely different. Zethu is playing a very dangerous game. And she may not realize how closely someone is watching her. The suspense builds. As we move toward the end of the episode, the tension becomes stronger. There is a feeling that something is about to happen. You know that moment in a soapie when the music changes and suddenly everybody starts looking suspicious? That's the feeling here. And I was honestly waiting for the big reveal. Because everything we've seen lately is pointing toward a major confrontation. The organ harvesting storyline has been building for a while, and Zethu is getting closer and closer to the people responsible. The question is whether she will expose them before they realize just how much she knows. My prediction for the next episode. Now let's talk predictions. I have a feeling Zethu is going to get another major clue. But I don't think the clue will immediately solve everything. Instead, it could lead her to somebody she never expected. And that could completely change the direction of the storyline. I also think Garage's search for Zethu could become dangerous. He is looking for his sister, but he doesn't necessarily know what he is walking into. If Garage gets too close to the wrong people, he could accidentally expose Zethu's investigation. And that would be a nightmare. Another possibility is that somebody close to Zethu could betray her. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. Because the show has already made it clear that trust is becoming a serious issue. The person you think is helping you might actually be collecting information about you. And that is why I think Zethu needs to be extremely careful. Final thoughts. Overall, I think this episode did a good job of keeping the suspense alive. The biggest storyline remains Zethu's investigation and the mystery surrounding the organ harvesting operation. But what makes the story interesting is that it isn't happening in isolation. Garage is searching for Zethu. Vusi is struggling with his own problems. Shobane is dealing with the consequences of his decisions. And all these different situations are moving closer and closer toward each other. That means we could be heading toward a massive storyline collision. And when that happens, I don't think the people of Bergville are going to be ready. As for Zethu, I just hope she realizes that being right isn't enough. She needs to stay alive long enough to prove that she is right. Because the closer she gets to the truth, the more dangerous things become. And guys, that's exactly why I am so interested in seeing what happens next. Will Zethu finally expose the people behind the organ harvesting operation? Will Garage find her before things get even worse? And could someone close to Zethu secretly be working against her? Those are the questions we need answered. And knowing Homecoming, we probably won't get all the answers at once. Instead, they'll give us one more shocking clue and leave us screaming at the screen. But that's what keeps us coming back, right? So guys, that is my recap and review of today's Homecoming storyline. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel and turn on your notification bell so you don't miss the next Homecoming recap. And most importantly, tell me in the comments. Do you think Zethu is getting too close to the truth, or do you think she should keep investigating? And what do you think will happen to Garage now that he is looking for Zethu? I want to hear your theories because honestly, I have a feeling the next episode is going to bring even more trouble. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next Homecoming recap.